next recipe is leafy greens with scallions. So here we have, as you can see, leafy greens. These are basically amaranth greens, which are very high in minerals and calcium, very good for our body. If you take a leafy green, any of these, and you see that they basically grow upward, and so they sort of match in our body our lungs, and how the leaves spread out, it's like a bronchial tube spreading out into our lungs. And so having leafy greens, especially dark leafy greens, is very good for our lung health. Along with that, having spring onions, which have a natural pungency, it cuts through the hard fat and mucus in the lungs. So as a combination, it is very, very good. And to this we could add to our taste either ginger or garlic. Each of it would have a slightly stimulating effect, and it would help the digestion, it would help the circulation of these deeper into our body. So that's the dish. So we're going to take a heavy based stainless steel kadhai. We should always cook in stainless steel and not in aluminium, and we should try and choose the heavy based ones like a 3-ply or a 5-ply, because it helps create a more stable and healthy dish, and the warmth of that literally translates into our body and gives us more strength and stability. So I'm going to take a little bit of oil. It's totally up to you what oil you'd like to use. I'm using cold pressed sesame oil over here. We take a little bit of the oil, and I will begin with adding a little bit of the spring onion whites. And to that I will add a little garlic. I'm choosing to add garlic today instead of ginger, but it's up to you what you prefer to add. And then we're going to add the stem part of the amaranth greens. The stems take longer to cook than the leafy part because they are harder, of course. And so we add them in 2 minutes before and cook it down for 2 minutes before we add the leafy greens. So here we have. I'm going to bring that to a slightly low flame, medium low flame, and add a little bit of salt over here. We do not want to add too much salt, as most of the dark leafy greens have their own salt. So if you add too much salt, the dish may become too salty. So we are simply going to add a little salt. Add very little water to this. And we always add water from the sides and never from the center, because that would, sort of interfere with the building heat of a dish. And so we have the amaranth greens. We can cook it down. We can cook the stem part for about a minute or two, and get back to it in a minute. So the stem part has been cooking for about 2 minutes, which is enough, for it to cook well. Now we're going to add the leafy green part, which will only take about 30 to 60 seconds. We're going to add the leafy green part, and as you can see, there is still a little bit of water over there, which is, which is not evaporated. So I'm going to kind of just steam the greens over the base. So we're going to add this, just the leafy greens by themselves, so they're evenly placed, and cover it and cook it for a minute. By then the leafy greens would be ready. So the amaranth leaves, stems and leaves have been cooking for a few minutes now, and so we will simply, as you can see, it's almost steamed, nice and steamed. We simply have to stir this in together. So it just has a light salt and garlic flavor as of now. And I'm just going to stir it in to mix the stems and the green part really nicely. And then we'll add the remaining spring onions, the white part, as well as the green part. The green part literally doesn't need any cooking. In fact, we could turn it off and it would cook in its own heat. Our dish is almost ready. Now we simply need to season it. I'm going to turn off the flame and we're going to take a little bit of fresh lemon juice and add it on top. And optionally, if you would like to, this is again an option, you could add a little bit of low sodium soy sauce if you wish to. And saute this together.